Let's go.
Okay, great. So just to set you all out on what we're going to be doing today, as usual, because of the nature of the interaction, it is not going to be the traditional kind of workshop we would have had for something like this. Again, it's like emergency, so we have to get everyone to set up their core shells in order to be able to do your assessments, final assessments. So this is more or less geared for those persons who may never have used myeLearning or may have used it a long time ago and you're just a little bit rusty. So I would say it's a novice kind of approach we're taking, one. So if you're fairly advanced, you may want to decide whether you're going to stay along, just to perhaps help us along with those who may be novices. So it is I would call it a novice workshop one. Two, we're doing more or less a show and tell because of the number of persons in the session and the what we have to cover for today and the time that we have. It's more or less going to be a show and tell with some time for questions. But we're going to ask you to keep the questions to the areas that we're focusing on today. And if there are other things that you want to do that perhaps are not covered or that you noticed as we go through today, take a note of it and we will deal with you either just after the session or you can email us and we will treat with that. Okay? That is simply so that we can manage the process. That's so we could manage the process and the time. And as Indira is saying, welcome Indira, that it will be useful for those with experience. You could help us answer the questions, and some of the questions may be relevant to you too. So thanks for that. Um, so we're going to start now, and the objectives are simple. We want by the time you finish this session, you feel comfortable to access your shell, for those of you who haven't, to add certain elements to the shell which we've been told is now the standard that the university is expecting in every course shell, that you should have at least a welcome message, some kind of instructions for your students, guiding them to what is in that course. It's called your navigation in your course, but you can call it whatever else you want, but just to let the students know what you have there. um, Help you put discussion forums because you are expected to have at least one discussion forum where the students can ask you questions about the assessments. And then, of course, the assignments. I see Trevor, hello Trevor, is asking about Turnitin assignments. Yes, and we're doing that, but it's the last thing we'll do in the session because we have to cater for everybody, and some people may need to know how to even get into the course first. So we're going through, and by the end of it, we will deal with the Turnitin assignments. If there are advanced things with the Turnitin assignments that you want to ask, we ask you to note it, send us the questions, and we will deal with you one-on-one, either after the session or at another point. So that way we get through the basics today. Clear? Everybody clear on that? Yeah?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So first thing I want you all to do is we have a poll for you, and we want you to respond yes or no. I can access my course in myeLearning. We just want to know if everybody's on board. Sure, just have to hold while you do that. I see one no. Yes, we have to get everybody to respond. So can you access your course in myeLearning? There can't be any maybes. It's either yes or no. No fence here. We need the poll. We need you to complete the poll. Well, I'm seeing 7 no responses. Okay, 6 no responses. We can't move until we know. All right, so we have, okay, so I'll go with at least 2 people who cannot access their courses in myeLearning. All right, now, of those 2 people, is it that you've 30 yes, 2 no. Great. And so for those of you who can't access your course in myeLearning, you need to immediately try and do that. And how you do that, I've just put up on the screen there. The first thing you need to do is to get what's called an enrollment key. But you need to have your staff ID number and your staff email account. All right. Now your staff email account, you need to deal with your department to get that to make sure. And HR would usually give you your staff ID number with your contract. So you must have that. Once you have that, you all are going to get the slides right after the session. So don't worry too much if some things are looking fuzzy on it. It will look clearer when you get it in your hand. This is just so you have a sense of what things are supposed to look like. I don't expect you to read everything. It's just to give you a visual of what things are supposed to look like. So those of you who need to get your course shell, those are the things that you need. Shanaz, if you're not hearing anything, Shanaz, I'm just going to type, while I talk, could you just type in the chat something for Shanaz? He's not hearing anything. So those of you who need to have access, please make sure you have your staff ID, your email, and you are going to go to this. If you put into the search, just a regular search, myeLearning, a regular search in any browser, myeLearning, you should see, let me just use the pointer here now. You should see this page as the first page that you can access. All right. As the first page that you can access, and once you get to that page, you will see a link that allows you to then get this catalog that will allow you to enroll, to request an enrollment key for your course, which is what you'll have to do with Campus IT in order for you to have access to myeLearning. So those two people who don't have access, if you haven't done that, that's what you need to do now. If you're still not sure, just send an email to us and we will send you the instructions again. Right? Okay. So once you have that access, so I'm going to assume now that all the rest of you have that access, and once you have that access and you log in with your staff ID and your password, just want to make something clear though. myeLearning is separate and apart from Banner. Yes, somebody's talking.
They said use Microsoft. They said to use Google Chrome.
Hello? Okay, I think people are trying to help Shanaz
get my phone, but I think it should be good now.
All right, great. Oh, that was Shanaz. All right. Okay, great. Okay, once you have logged in to myeLearning, then you should see what's called your dashboard. And there are usually 3 parts to the dashboard. All right. And those 3 parts comprise the area that we call the user support area, where you'll see things like myeLearning staff guides, as this area here, myeLearning staff guides, the student guides, basically your help, your user support. There's an area called the course overview, and there's an area that will allow you to search for your courses, which either appears at the bottom of the page or to the right side. Now, what I'm going to ask you all to do is, those of you who have access now, it would be useful for you to follow along, if you can, with your screen. I'm not asking you to do it if you're not comfortable. But if you're comfortable, you can log into myeLearning now, and you can follow along as we do what we're going to do. Now, if you encounter any problems, I'm asking you not to stop the session for us to deal with the problems. Just allow it to go on, and then afterwards we could try to sort it out when we get to the question period, or if it's something more complicated afterwards. So for now, I'm just asking, show and tell, follow along. So for those of you who can log in and comfortable doing it and working along, just listening to what I'm saying and following along, that's fine. For the rest of you, just look at what is being presented and note we just sharing it so you will see what things supposed to look like, and then we will share videos, self-instructional videos, as well as this slide and the recording of this session after for follow-up and checking. All right. So the first thing you encounter is your dashboard. Once you have enrolled, you got your enrollment key and you've logged in and you encounter this dashboard. On the dashboard will be listed all your various courses that you have access to. Some people will have more than others. All right. Once you click on your whatever course it is that's active for that period, so I'm just using this old course because this is what I had access to do this, right? But you should be seeing your course for the current semester. When you click on it, if you've never used myeLearning before, you've never used the course shell, this is what we call the course shell. We call it a shell because when you get it, there is nothing really in it other than a news forum, or sometimes this is called announcements. So this is what everybody will get as their shell. Some of you here, I know, I see the names, I know some of you would have more than a shell now, but those of you who've never used myeLearning, that this is who this workshop is catering for, you see your shell. It may either look like this, where you have the title of the course, and then this is where you can navigate through the course. We call this the breadcrumbs, just below the title of the course, and you would either have a news forum or announcements. Some of you will have it like this with topics, just like this, or some of you will have just the announcements. So far, so good?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So what do you need to have in this course shell according to the university? As I said in the introduction, you're expected to have a course welcome, something that tells your students what's going on in the course, discussion forums, and your assignment Dropboxes. Now we put assignment Dropboxes because you have been asked to use Turnitin, but Turnitin can only work with text. It can't do checking for graphics and pictures. So for those courses where your assessment requires students to do something, either draw or write and scan and upload, or submit pictures, you would have to use the regular assignment Dropbox. So that's why we're going to do both today. All right. So the first thing that I would ask you all to do, if when you go into your course, all you see is the news forum or announcements, I would ask you all to try to now add topics. Now we're asking you to add topics with the understanding that your course, yes, Trevor, you do have an option if your assignments, obviously if your assignments are graphics or pictures, something that Turnitin wouldn't check, then it's understandable that you use the regular assignments. But once it is not graphics or pictures or something that Turnitin can't do the checking with, then you have to use Turnitin. That's the word we got from exams. So that's the understanding, because it doesn't make sense. Turnitin can't do the checking. Well, that would be most engineering courses. And Justin is adding all audio files or music students. So yes, for the engineering courses, where you have all that graphics and so, then you would use the regular. Yes, well, I don't know why the issue wasn't addressed, but in the most recent instructions we got from exams, and that should go out this week again, then you should use the regular one if it's graphics. So to add the topics to your course, if you get a course without these sections called topics, then you need to click on the bottom of the page where it says simply add topics. Now, one of the things you'll see with myeLearning and Moodle is things become very mechanical. You do this, you do that, you do that. It's a process and it's very similar all along the way, and they try to make it very clear. So don't be too confused if you see I'm doing a lot of processes. Everything we're doing will end up being almost the same. So by the end of this 2-hour session, you may start to get bored with the same process over and over. But, we're sharing it with you so you'll understand. So you click Add Topics and you put in this box here, if you see my pointer, the number of topics you want. All right? So the number of topics you want will depend on what you're planning to do with your course. If your course is a 13-week course and you have 10 topics that you've been doing with the students, and for each of those topics you have materials, things that you want to share, each of your topics may reflect what's in your course calendar for each week, for example. Some people may decide they just want to use myeLearning now because they have to do it for the exam, in which case you may not want to add the topics. But we're just showing it to you so you will know. Understood? Yes, can I move on? People out there? I feel like I'm talking to myself.
No, we're here. We're here.
Okay, great. All right, good. So let's go to the first thing that you should have in the course now. Assuming that you've created your topics or not, because you don't want them, that's fine. So you're now in your course and you're faced with this shell. You have to set up announcement. The announcements are that you have to set up your welcome message. To set up your welcome message, the first thing that you have to do in any course shell before you do anything else is what we call turning on. And you turn editing on by going to this drop down button here on the top of your screen, and you will see a drop down menu that says you can turn editing on. You will know that editing is turned on because on your page you will see these funny little things all over the page, like a little pencil and a cross and so on. So you turn editing on, and when you see these funny little things, on that first block in your course, right, the first block in your course, which is always there, you will see an edit link on the side, which allows you to pull down, and there's only one thing on that menu, which is edit section. So you're going to click that edit section, right? Anybody following in their myeLearning course as I talk?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So edit section, and you should get something that looks like this. Summary box with section name and summary here, right? And you see custom,
Okay.
and then there's general here. Now, one thing to note with this box is you see some icons along here, just like on a page when you're doing Word, when you're typing in Word. This arrow is a downward pointing arrow, and when you click on it, it allows you to expand your editing options here so that you could do more things in this space. Now, this space is where you're going to put in your welcome message that will appear on your page. So all you're going to be doing is typing a message into this space here. And it doesn't have to be long. I mean, you could type it on a Word document and then copy paste it here, or you could just type in, welcome to the course, glad to have you here, right? Now, this little area here that says general, you can customize that by giving your course a subtitle or something. But to do that, you have to click this box, this custom box here, which will then allow you to edit this. If you don't click the custom box, then it's just going to stay with nothing there, all right? So just to go over, to create that welcome message, I'm going to go back. You edit section. You have to turn editing on in your course first. Everything you're doing in myeLearning, you have to turn editing on, which is the wheel on the top next to your course name, pull down menu, turn editing on. Then you get this box where you can type in it. And so, right, step 3, If you want to put something, I said select custom to insert the title, and you're going to use your editing tools to format your text, and it will even allow you to upload an image if you want to get fancy. Okay? And the upload image will be one of these icons here, the one that looks like the mountain with the sun or the moon or whatever it is. It allows you to upload an image there, and but you must click on this downward pointing arrow to get all these options here. All right. Once you've typed in, and you could just use plain text and type in a welcome message. At the bottom of the screen, there's a save changes. You need to click that, otherwise nothing will happen. When you click that, voila. This is now your welcome message on your course welcome page. Now you notice you still have the edit button here. You still have an, whenever you see a pencil, that allows you to edit whatever is right next to the pencil. Right? And this is the thing on your, this is the text that I wrote in that little box. Right. So any questions on that quickly? People follow that? It seems fairly straightforward.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. So we're moving along quickly. So the next thing is, how do I add the instructions or other resources to my course? Now this is for people who never added anything to the course. You just want to quickly add a file, for instance, to tell your students what's happening. Right? If you don't want to use the announcements, now this announcements that you get with the course or news forum, whatever they call it, this is like your course notice board. It allows you to send messages out to your students. It goes directly into their email, or they can click here and read the messages, but they can't reply to you in this forum. So that's one. If you want to add a file, okay, the first thing you need to do is click this link called add an activity or resource. Now remember, to see these things, you have to turn editing on, and turn editing on is available on the top of your screen where the wheel is. So you add an activity or a resource, right? When you click that, second point, when you click the add an activity resource link, let me go back. Whatever section you're adding something to, at the bottom of that section, you should see add an activity or resource. It's always the same in every section. You click it, the next page you will see is something like this, right? If you want to add a file, then you scroll to the section called resources. I'm pointing to it here, and you see you have all these options for things that you could add. You want to add a file, so you go here and you click file. Once you click file, then you click add. Right? That will take you to another form, very similar to the one that you filled in for the welcome. Right? Fill in the form. You're going to fill in the form, and at the bottom it's a long form. This is the top, this is the bottom part. The top part, straightforward, same thing like the other one with the down arrow. If you want to add stuff, if you want to edit things, you type inside the box. Now you'll see a little red exclamation mark sometimes. That means you have to put something in here. Wherever the red exclamation is, you must fill in that text there or whatever. So you fill in the top of the form. The next part of the form at the bottom is what allows you to attach a file. So you click that file. It looks like a folder. It's really a file, but it looks strange. So you click that file icon, or you could drag and drop your whatever file you want into the box there. And the instructions are there. It says that if you click the file option, you then get what's called the file picker page. And that file picker page allows you to browse and find your file, just like if you're sending an attachment to an email message. Once you've sent an attachment to an email message, the same thing. It's the same thing you're doing here. You click upload file. It will ask you, you search, you browse your computer, and you select the file you want from your computer, and it will appear here. The title of the file will appear here. and you give it a name to save it as. Nobody's going to see that. You just give it a name. And when you're done, you click upload this file. Okay. It will take you back to that page that you were filling in for you to continue filling in your page. But you're going to know that you've attached the file because you will see it. You see, I attached a Word document. You could attach PDF files and so on. But you see it appear inside this box, and you continue filling in your form, and then you click Save and Return to Course, or Save and Display. They have two options. I always like to click Save and Return to Course because it allows you to see what you've done and what it looks like on the page. So I've saved that resource, and you see it here on the page now, and there's a link. The student can click it. I'm still in editing mode. Who knows how I know I'm still in editing mode? Huh?
Pencils, or little pencils.
Yeah, the funny looking things on the pencil and the crosses. Now these crosses are what will allow you to move things around on your page. Yes, and this particular cross here allows you to move your links from one place to the next. So if I was in the live environment, I could drag this using this and drop it over this one. Right? You just drag it and drop it anywhere on the page you want, because sometimes you added something and it's in the wrong place. So you could do that. And you see the editing on the side. The editing on the side also allows you to go back in and edit the settings for everything that you've done. Good. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay.
Great. Okay, we're moving smartly because I know you all want to get to the assessments. One last thing quickly before the assessment, because some of you may they decide to use the discussion forum for, something linked to your assessment. Same process. You see how quick this will go. You click the add an activity or resource on the page, just like before. Wherever you want to put it, that's the thing. Find the space where you want to put it. Click the add an activity or resource link on that page. And then when you get that same list that I talked about, you're going to look for, now that's the thing with the discussion forum. It's not called discussion. It's just called forum. So you look under activities and you scroll until you find forum. And everything has an icon. Everything has an icon. Your Blackboard Collaborate, your assignment, everything has an icon. So you will know what it is on your page by the icon as well. Right? So once you click forum, guess what? The same box to fill it again. Right? But the difference now is with your forum, to add your forum, you must give it a title, of course. You can put a description in here for your students, but here you have a whole set of settings that you can use depending on the kind of discussion that you want. All right? And the good thing about it is for everything in Moodle, well, most things, you will have a little question mark on the side of it. And that little question mark allows you to go in and see what it is and what you could do. So you have, when you click the question mark here, it allows you to see the different kinds of discussion forums that you could develop. And one of the things that you need to look at is the subscription and tracking. Because if you want to make sure that your students don't duck out of a discussion forum, you may have to make it a subscription that's forced so that they can't opt out. Right? That's just a point I want to make to you all. But we're not going to go through anything else. So we're saying ensure you check your settings, so it's the correct type of forum, and that these subscriptions are what you want, and then you could click save and return to course. And here you have your discussion forum on the page. Questions on that?
No, okay.
No questions.
No question.
Great. Right. Smartly, here we go. Assignment Dropbox. So I'm going to hand over to Justin. And what but I want to make 1 point, well, 2 points. Reiterate that, and I know it might sound like, why am I saying this? But I'm saying this because it has come up in our queries. myeLearning is separate from Banner and is separate from your email account. You sign into your email account, which is separate. Some of you may have the same password, but even though you're using your staff ID for everything, they're separate entities. So make sure that you don't confuse the three things, right? It's three separate things. And they will obviously have different areas where you go to access them. So that's 1 point. The second point is we had a discussion with the disabilities unit. And for those lecturers who may have students with disabilities, what we're asking you to do, and Justin is going to talk about that as he is when he's doing the assignment Dropbox, we are asking that you ensure that you do not block submission of assessments on the deadline date. Allow for the submissions so that you could then give your students who have disabilities the option of the extra time. Okay? And Justin to talk a little bit about that as he does it. So I'll hand over now to Justin to deal with the assignment Dropbox.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone, once again. So we're going to go into the assignment Dropbox. And then, of course, subsequent to that, we'll go into Turnitin. Oh, great, Indira. Now, the thing is, as you know, these are the main two options that we have with regard to the alternative assessments, right, as mandated by BUS and so on. So having turned editing on in your course already, and I just explained how to do that, we click on the little icon. Let me just get the pointer. We click on this little thing, add a resource, right? Add an activity resource where we see this red arrow here. And that is going to open the activity and resources on a quarter pop-up box. All right. Now the thing here, the whole menu is in alphabetical order, and that's on this side here, right? It's in alphabetical order. So assignments is start with 8. It's on the top of the list. All right. So remember, editing on. That's what. From your course homepage, turn editing on. Click on Add Active. The third step, right, is to click on assessment on assignments. All right. You're gonna see on your assignment page, and this is where you're gonna set the parameters. You're gonna state the instructions or the prompt. Recently, and of course we went through with you in terms of how to develop your prompt and so on. So right at the top, you want to state your assignment name. Now here you want to give it a name that is quite relevant or easy to identify for the student to identify, right? And nothing too ambiguous. So if you want to call it final assignment, or even that could work, but something that is clearly identifiable on your course homepage, especially if your course has a lot of other material like documents and so on it. All right. Once you state the title of your assignment, for example, final exam, final assignment, etc., then in the description field, which is on this part, you want to state your instructions. In other words, what is the question? What is the prompt? What do you want students? I would also recommend. So, for example, if you want students to write an essay on Shakespearean tragedies, then the question here. I would also advise that in this part you state what the parameters are in terms of or specifications, such as the format. All right. So, for example, if it's APA format, if it's Sorry, I think this just moved. For example, if it's the APA format, if it's the MLA format, the number of words or pages that you might want this assignment to be. Any sort of
Sorry,
specification.
Indira has a hand up, Justin. Sorry.
Go ahead, Indira.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry to interrupt, but as you raised where you position your question, I'm a little unclear as to how the examination paper, and I use the term paper with caution, is to be released because I haven't had
Yeah.
any guidelines from exams. So is it that exam section will do it and then we collect on myeLearning, or is this to be done also through the course myeLearning page?
It's, from my understanding, it's to be done in the course page, your myeLearning course. So you're creating your assignment here. But before that, I believe they specify that you might need to pass it to exam sections, sorry, for the I guess the official green light. But
Yes.
this is the route you take. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you get that green light.
Sorry, just to interject too, our last word was that exam section will be preparing guidelines for you. Remember, the exam period is not till May 25th, right?
Except our deadline is May 15th.
Right.
So
But
yes.
But exam section did tell us, they told us specifically, because we asked this question since the last time we had the meeting.
Right.
And they said they will be doing guidelines for everybody. So they will do the guidelines. But as Justin is saying, the space for the exam will be the myeLearning. It's not like you're going to have it in a package and exam section releases it. You will have to put it into myeLearning. Now,
your myeLearning course.
Yes, in your course. Now, remember, it is not a 3-hour exam. So it's not like you have to sit down and the students come in and then you open it. So that thing of the release it's over a period of time. So
right. So I also asked that, sorry to interrupt, that question in my list of 20 questions. I sent to examinations. All right. So I assume they will be addressing some of these concerns.
There will be.
Communicate.
There will be. But the portal for it is your myeLearning course.
And I think what you can do in the interim, to save time too, and not have to wait until when you get the word from them to kind of hustle to get the assignment created, I would recommend, like, even from this session, you go ahead and, even for those of you who might be following and trying to create it in your course one time, that you create it even now and just set it aside. You hide it from students.
Just hide it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, hide it from students. So at least when you get the final word from the exam section, that you don't have to now figure out what it is you want to. Yeah, and then of course, if you want to contact us, and we might be helping other people, so you may not get, a now for now response. So keep that in mind. So I would recommend creating it from now, and just awaiting the final word and whatnot, guidance from exam section. Yes, it's safe to hide, Christine. When you hide it, let me just say, when you hide it, only you would be able to see it and your teaching assistants, right? So keep that in mind. So the students will never be able to see it once you hide it from them.
Unless there's a file attached. They will see the file that's well, you have to hide everything. You have to make sure you hide it so that they don't see the file attached to anything. So you have to make sure the eyes are closed. Don't just go with the date.
When you are creating, in the same, you need to be careful, and I really do not recommend. You do recommend something. I didn't get that last word, but
do I recommend what? Is that this, Christine? The hiding? Yes, you hide the whole thing, Trevor.
You could hide the whole topic. You could hide.
I understand. I close the eye. I'm just saying human error, and can you imagine having to redo an entire exam? And I'm just saying, and just guiding my colleagues. is that these little errors, you get a call or something happen while you're doing it, you forget, and
and you
voila,
and you
you have a problem.
inadvertently it
I
open.
just feel that our exams, if we save it on Word or wherever we have it, we copy and paste and put it when you're ready, because hiding, and that's why I feel we need to be a little more careful, and it can have a backlash
Well,
if an error occurs.
the thing is, when you're creating the assignment, and this is why I kind of lean more towards hide it when you're creating the assignment, like in the, as opposed to just putting the I course homepage. Because remember, if you put in the assignment, the whole assignment wouldn't save until you click save. But in order to click save, you need to make sure you have that. There's an option very low down, and you'll see it in the next slide, called Common Module Settings, where you could set visible or hide. Right? So definitely make sure when you're creating your assignment for myeLearning, that's one of the last things you have to click before you even click save and return to course. Right? So keep in mind, so when you're in this editing page that we're talking about here, that you I think it's like the second to last option you're gonna see it as, and you click hide from students. All right. And always try to verify, even if you get interrupted. I know Christine raised a very good point. You might get a phone call or get some sort of distraction. Just make sure before you click save and return to course that you verify everything. Review the entire page before you click save and verify to ensure that it's hidden. All right. Now, in some cases, in this, so you state your, as I was saying, you stated your assignment title, and then you state the instructions. In some cases, you might have a document you might need to upload. Let's say if it's a case study, and whatnot. Sorry, let me just read this, and it might be worthwhile to upload the exam as a P, right? That could work too. Let me just see that entire comment. Might be worthwhile to one, upload the exam as a PDF on myeLearning with clear instruction, questions, and create the assignment. Yeah.
Yes, but why would you want, if you have a space where the instructions can appear right there with the assignment? I'm asking Ladana, why would you want to have a separate file? I'm not saying you don't have to have it, but why would you want it? Plus, you could also create that separate file in the assignment area. That's what we're telling you. You could have the instructions along with a file that goes with that in the tool rather than having two separate places. So Ladana, you want to share why you were suggesting
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, it's just that I've never used this little box here to put in any of the prompts or anything like that. So in the past, if I had let's say I was releasing a research essay to them, I would have uploaded that as a separate file, and then I would have had them submit via Turnitin and put the Turnitin link there. But it would have all been under one topic, research essay number 1 or something like that.
You would put it as a separate document, and then they use that to go and submit it into Turnitin or whatever the correct?
Yes, so they can view an entire PDF document with clear instructions with, the word limit, where they're submitting or whatever. And then right underneath that on the myeLearning page, they're going to see that Turnitin link so that they can go in there and submit the assignment there. But it's just that I've never used it this way before. So that was
that's certainly one way that you could go about it. Let's say, for example, in very few instances, if you might get some sort of trouble attaching it here, you could go ahead and use that alternative as well. You know what I mean? To put it just above the submission, the actual activity. So that's okay. But I mean, you might probably want to try it this way first, and then if it's too confusing or whatnot, and hopefully it wouldn't be as confusing after this session, you should go this route. So
okay, sure, thanks.
Right. So to Anias and Dira, you could certainly upload whether it's a Word document or a PDF or even an Excel. You could definitely upload those file types as an attachment to your assignment. So on this,
sorry to interrupt. What you're suggesting is, as one possible option, is that you have a link with that assignment activity where you post the questions or the question paper, but you
Right.
also then have to create another link, obviously, for submission, which might be a Turnitin link, correct?
Well, no. Well, I think Adana was suggesting that in terms of not knowing the features in here. So she was saying that
Right.
that's something that she would normally do. But what we are
Okay.
saying is that you could merge the two. So you have both in one, two in one, and that way the
Right.
student doesn't have to
Sorry,
search.
yeah. Sorry, Justin. I just wanted to make a point too that we only showing you all the assignment Dropbox because
Right.
there are
Yeah.
some people who will not be using the Turnitin assignment Dropbox,
Yeah.
like
Right.
engineering or
Right.
creative or dance or something. So they may
Right.
have to use the regular assignment Dropbox. So
Right.
that's why we were
Right.
suggesting that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But that's what
And
I'm saying. If you were requiring use of Turnitin, you're going to have to set up a separate link.
no, you could in terms of no, you could put it out in both. It could be both in terms of what getting your document the PDF, for example, you're referring to, attached to your assignment.
Well, getting the students' responses. So that's what I'm a little unclear. I must have missed something
Oh,
along the way.
okay. So what we're saying is that with the whether it's with the assignment or the Turnitin activity, um, both of them will allow you to get student submission, right? What we that sometimes in some cases you might have a document um, as an attachment to that assignment. The way you go about it in terms of attaching that document, whether it's a case study, for example, right? So, for example, let's say on this left side on the slide here, you might have please view the attached document to see further instructions for your assignment, for the task, right? On the right side, it's showing you where you can upload your document so students will be able to see it and follow the instructions. Yeah? But we will get to Turnitin right after this. So it'll all make sense as we go along. All right? So the next step is really where you want to upload your document. Now, of course, keep in mind you don't have to have a separate document or whatnot for your assignments. You could probably just copy and paste from your Word document or whatnot and put it inside here, and that could be it. But if let's say you have a document that sort of gives further instructions on the format, the word limit, all these other things, then by all means, or said before, by all means, you can do that, right? No, there's no word limit within the instruction box. It takes quite a lot. Let me say it like that. I wouldn't say there's no limit, but the limit is quite expansive. So you don't have to worry too much about that. So yes, to upload a document, you click on this little file here, this file icon, where this red arrow is pointing as well. All right. And then it will take you to this little page. It's almost like adding an attachment to your email. This kind of, so it should ring a bell to you, right? So you click browse. Now notice on the left side, it says upload a file. So let's say you have this document on your flash drive, on your desktop or whatnot. You want to make sure you're in upload a file, and then you click browse. When you click browse, it'll prompt you to locate your file and whatnot, whatever folder you stored it in. You're going to click on that file, and then it's going to appear here. So you see, for example, test blueprint, right? That's the name of the document. And from there, once it's the document that you realize that's what you want to use, you click upload this file. Change the name and the author and whatnot. You just click upload this file. All right. And thereafter, on the left side of this slide, I want to show you now. Right after this part here on the availability comes right under that the summary field or box instructions. So this is where you're going to set the parameters in terms of the due date, start date, the due date. Now I want to say the start date is really when students will be able to start submitting. Remember with BUS, you have to give them at least a 2 to 7 day period within which students can submit. All right. So Now, the start date, you would notice on all the different dates, you have date, then the month, then the year, obviously, and then the time. Now, the time is a 24-hour clock. So you're not going to click 12 and think it's 12 in the night. 12 here is 12 in the morning. I mean, 12 in the afternoon, sorry. All right? So keep that in mind. And it goes all the way till about, I think, 23. And then, of course, on this side, you click 59. If it's midnight, you want to open it from. All right? Or 1 o'clock. After that, you're going to go to the due date. All right? The due date is when to, this is the time when you would expect students to submit their assignment. So let's say you give them a 5-day. You make the start date open from Monday, and then by Friday, let's say the 1st of May, you want to set this here. So again, it's the same date, month, year, 24-hour clock. Right? Those are the only 2 dates you want to set in this assignment activity. You do not want dates, right? Because as Diane said earlier, you want to cater to students with disabilities or different able students who would need that extra privilege, so to speak. All right, that extra time to get the assignment in and have it marked. Yes, Trevor.
But I would think that students who have disabilities need to be identified beforehand so that they can have such arrangement. But I would think that if we say we have a 5-day exam, that there is a cutoff to ensure that if the students take more than 5 days, they had a 3-hour exam and they didn't submit.
Yes, if I may,
Okay,
Justin,
sure.
the Dr. Huggins says that the usual process is they send a letter to you letting you know who the students are, correct? So that will still be done, right?
Yeah.
You have your cutoff date for your exam as usual, and that's the date that you have as your cutoff date for your exam, but you're not putting a cutoff date on the system. You're telling the students a cutoff date, but you're putting in a due date. Now, once you put in that due date, when the students submit, you will see when they have submitted, so you will know those that are late. List, and those students who are on your list, they should not be penalized because you would know that that means they have the extra time.
Now, in myeLearning, it's easy to tell even if you have a large class because they are color-coded. Students who submit within due date, I think usually you see it's highlighted in green, but after the due date, they are highlighted in red. And of course, you compare that list now with the list that you have from the support unit, and then you could kind of take the necessary action. I think Indira had a question.
Yeah, so yes, I haven't used this before. I do understand the facility that they can still submit but submit late. However, in this type of final assessment, are we allowing late submissions other than those who've been given permission for extra time because of whatever approval from examination section and with disabilities or whatever?
No, we're not saying that. We're saying that the late submission is just to accommodate the persons who you know have that accommodation.
Yes. Oh, sorry. For whom extra time has been approved. Let me put
exactly.
it
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. So what do you do with those late submissions?
When people are late.
Yes, I know that, but technically it's something submitted online.
But
anyway, let's see what exam says.
Yeah, I think I was going to say that exam section should include that when they give the correspondence in terms of students who submit late, whether it's the regular 10% or whatever percentage penalty. Is something that they would know how to advise on that. All right, but for you, in this instance, you put in your due date, but you're not putting a cutoff date. Make sure that is great. Yeah. Right. After that, you would notice, well, you have the rest of the form that you can. Yes, thanks. So after that, you complete the rest of the form in terms of submission types, the feedback. Well, I want to say you're probably not going to give much feedback because it's a kind of final exam, so to speak. So you're probably not going to give much feedback in this regard. Now, notice here, Christine, I'm not sure if Christine is still with us. This part here is what I was referring to earlier, common module settings. When you click on common module settings, make sure you click hide from student or hidden. I can't remember what's the exact wording of it, but make sure you click hide, right? And that way, before you even save this assignment or post it on myeLearning, the students cannot see it, right? Yes, Indira, she might send you a list of 20 questions after the session. I like that. All right. You don't have to worry about tags and so on because that is not necessary in this instance. So once you click save and return to course, it takes you exactly to the course homepage where you created the assignment. So you see here final assignment for the course, right? Or final course assignment. And if you need to make changes to it, you simply click this edit button on the right side and it will take you back to the page that we were just looking at with all of this. All right.
Sorry, can I interrupt, please?
Sure.
These submissions, I'm with you following on myeLearning on here, but I'm not seeing where you have those prompts as you were showing us. I see allow submissions, due date. So if you allow submissions, although I put everything you're saying, it will only be allowed on the day as per submission, yes?
This is which option you're talking about? Availability?
Yes, insert setting,
Right.
yeah.
So you're saying if what you're saying is that when you click the start date, that's when they can start submitting, right? When you click the due date, that's when the assignment is due, but it doesn't cut them off because it's a cutoff date. The cutoff date is when they're no longer able to submit. Think of it like like on some mobile networks. I don't even know if they still do it, but when your credit is up, they might give you a apply.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what this is kind of. It functions like that almost.
I'm sorry, I really seem to have missed it all because my own cut off for a minute or two. But the due date is the date if we're giving them 48 hours or 50 hours, 60 hours, that will be the due date from the allowed date.
Yes.
But are
So
you
for example,
suggesting we don't have a due date?
No, I'm suggesting you have a due date, but you don't put a cutoff date. There's a difference between the cutoff date and the due date.
Okay, and then allow submissions from. For example, it's not allowing me to put submissions for tomorrow or next week. So it means the question is, how can I put in this if you are suggesting we can do it in advance? Because the allow submissions is only allowing today's date.
No, you have to enable.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm wrong. Okay, apologies.
You wouldn't be able to insert anything once it's thing.
So where would I be able to hide my last question? Where will I be able to hide it if I upload it? Yeah.
Right. You see the second part here on the right side of the screen on this slide now, common module settings. Remember I was saying earlier, it's like the second to last button or menu part of the before you click save. You scroll all the way down and you click common module settings. And when you click common module settings, you're gonna see a menu would appear. All right.
So I'm
that would
not seeing common mod. All right, under common module settings, I have to hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're gonna see either show on course. When you click, you'll see an option called availability, and when you click on the drop-down menu, it's gonna ask you whether you want to show this on the course homepage or you want to hide it from students. Right? Yes, Nisha, thanks. I remember. Is that correct, Christine?
No, I hit common module settings. I'm seeing availability, ID, number, group, and grouping.
Right.
I'm not seeing
In availability, in that same one, availability, you should see right next to the word availability, activity, you're going to see a little thing with a little small arrow. Click on the space right next to it, and you're going to see show on course page or hide from student. You're going to click hide from students.
Well, I don't want to keep back the crew, but I'm with you all. But this part I have lost. I have under common module settings. I see availability ID number grouping, show on course page number groups, but nothing else I'm
That's
seeing.
it. That's it. That's it. The one with show on course page. Click on that and hide from students.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks. So that little click. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you see what I'm saying? That you have to click that before you actually click save for it to even be on myeLearning in the first place.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
No problem. All right. And of course, once you click save and display, sorry, save and return to the course, you're going to see your final assignment on the course homepage. Any questions? Any more? Well, I know we had questions along the way, but any more questions on that?
No.
No.
All right, good. So far, so good. Is laughing. All right, good. We're just going full steam ahead. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is Turnitin. Now, keep in mind you can hide. You can also hide. Very good. In Dero. Let me just go back a bit to show you. So, Christine, in some instances, well, in all instances, you could choose to hide either the specific activity, or you could hide the entire block. All right. And of course, once editing is done, you will see like these editing icons here. There's usually one at the top at the top of each block topic. You could click that and it'll give you the option to hide. Okay. All right. So as we move on to Turnitin, I think this is our final activity for the day. In terms of what we're looking at in myeLearning. Right. The same process as before. You go to from your course homepage, you turn editing on. Now let me just back up a little bit. As we said earlier, the regular myeLearning assignment you're going to use if your final assessment involves diagrams, whatever media files in terms of audio, visual material, diagrams, even equations like in terms of mathematical or chemistry equations and so on, and calculations. Usually in those fields, you don't have multiple answers. It's usually one or two straight possible ways they could possibly go with it, right? So you probably wouldn't want to use Turnitin for those assignments. But for regular essays or even short answer essays, or in some cases, some of you might have require students to answer some subsidiary questions. I would recommend that you put those, you instruct them to put all of their subsidiary responses or the answers to these subsidiary questions into one document and submit that. All right, and that could go through Turnitin. So you would notice it's going to look a lot like the myeLearning, similar to the regular myeLearning assignment. All right. Once you turn editing on, you click add an activity or resource, as we did in previous activities and features in myeLearning. And like I said before, it's in alphabetical order. So you're going to see, for example, database close to the top, quiz, glossary quiz, and then at the bottom you're going to see Turnitin assignment. All right. Turnitin assignment. So you click on that. All right, and then let me just verify that. Let me just clarify, sorry, that you could double click on it or just click on it once and then click add at the bottom of that screen. So once you're here, of course, this looks like a familiar page, right? We insert our assignment title. All right. It could also be similar to what we did before, final course assessment. All right. Here, you can give your instructions here. All right. Here's a good place where you could copy, even though it says summary, you can use it to place your prompt, your instructions, the specifications in terms of the format and the size of the essays or whatnot. All right. After that,
Justin, sorry. Just if you could just go back to that slide and just remind people that they can also, as with the other assignment, the regular assignment, they can attach the file because people had asked about that.
Oh, yes. You can also attach a file, but to do that, you're gonna have to do it as a hyperlink. All right. um, maybe maybe I could demonstrate just that part, Diane, how to do that.
I think we could we'll put the self-instructional
Yeah.
materials for
Yes,
that.
the links are there. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so
So
it's
to
all right.
do
It's just
that,
to let them know though.
yes, if you have a document, so this is where it differs slightly from the regular myeLearning assignment, where with the regular myeLearning assignment, you could just attach it as a, almost like an email attachment. With this one, however, you would need to make a hyperlink. So for example, you might have your assignment instruction for two-in-one approach almost. Yeah, kind of. But this one is a little more, I don't want to say complicated. It's not complicated at all, but it's just different, right? So if you want to take a note of the steps, if it happen to be doing it now, I think it's about 5 steps in all. You click on this first icon here, the first icon with the arrow, right? And that will expand the menu, right? When you click on that, you're going to highlight the word that you want to hyperlink. So for example, I might say, please click here for further instructions. And of course, click here, I would want to hyperlink. So I click on that. Sorry, I highlight it, almost like if you're going to copy it and paste it or whatever. So you click on that first. Once you highlight your first, the phrase or word that you want to hyperlink, you click on this first icon arrow. It's going to expand. The menu on top here is going to expand. And you're going to click on the third icon in the third row. It's the third icon in the third row. All right. And of course, once you click on that, it's going to ask you you're going to be prompted to browse your repository. And of course, locate your document. And then it's as simple as that. And of course, the documentation that we're going to send for you will walk you through that, both in a video and a PDF. All right. So that's just for you to know.
May I ask a quick question? So is it, when you create that hyperlink, is it that the document is stored somewhere on a server at UE now so that students can access it? Or is it that your computer needs to be on 24/7? So if somebody clicks on that hyperlink, it pulls it from your computer?
Right. Now, very good question, Randy. What it does is it saves on the myeLearning servers, right? So every time the student clicks on that link, it'll take them straight to that document. Not necessarily on their not on their desktop or on your computer, but it takes them to that. It'll be on a myeLearning server. Of course, when you click save and so on, it becomes stored on the university's server. All right, Randy.
Note, Randy, all the files that you are uploading will be stored on that myeLearning server. So even if you have the exam in the form of a paper that you put on myeLearning, not connected to the Turnitin assignment box, it's still going to be stored on the myeLearning server anyway.
And let me just say as well, all of the documents, let's say some of you have a lot of stuff in your courses, all of that is stored in myeLearning, on the myeLearning servers. And that's why it's easy for us to when you ask for to copy your content from one semester to the next, we can easily pull it from there and copy it and put it into a new semester for you, because that's just how it works. Added to that, Randy, when you upload it, it's tied to your account specifically. So it doesn't matter if you go on another computer or in another course. Whenever you go to upload a document, you will see. Let me just go back a little bit, just to show you what it might look like. You see this? This is what the window would look like, somewhat. When you go to in Turnitin. So I know this is an assignment we're dealing with, but when you go specifically in Turnitin, it looks something like this when you're gonna to link to a document. And you see this part with recent files. All of the stuff that you would have uploaded in previous instances would be stored there as well. So I want you to think of myeLearning almost like a flash drive or a cloud drive. So you could access it anywhere, and to build another course, to do whatever you want to do with it.
Thanks,
All
Justin.
right? Sure, no problem. So after that, I think Indira had a question. Right, yes. Yes, you could create the hyperlink in the actual that summary field that I just showed you, right? So that's if, let's say, for example, you don't want to kind of go through the long route of copy and pasting all your stuff there. You could keep it on a PDF or a Word document and just hyperlink it. All right? And of course, you don't have to worry about the link being broken or the student not being able to access it, because it's not a one-shot thing. Remember, they have at least 2 to 7 days to complete this thing. So, and you would also be able to see it in myeLearning. But the documentation will walk you through the entire process in case you forget. Oh, I know you well, Indira. So yes. So after that, guys, you're gonna fill out the rest of the form. All right. Fill out the rest of the form. With regard to submission type, if it's you can leave it to any, but I try to be a little more specific and state upload file. All right, as opposed to like a text box, I just like to put upload file to be specific. So that is important. All right. The display originality report and so on, of course, you would see, and you have documentation for all of this. You fill out the forms of the rest of the fields accordingly. All right. And at this part, this second part on the right side here, where it says name, you can leave name as is, part 1. You can leave that as is. The start date, you want to set that. All right. That's when students will be able to submit. And the due date. So in other words, when will students be able to submit by? This is similar to the previous assignment, where you give them that parameter within which they can submit their assignments. All right. Now the post date, you want to ensure that that post date is not before your start date. All right. That post date is like, for example, not just when your assignment will be available, but when but I don't think it'll be too important because you're not going to post grades necessarily here. So, but just make sure you don't really have to fiddle too much with this post date. All right. The main thing is really the due date, the start date, and the due date. And just like the previous assignment, you have it set in date, month, year, and a 24-hour clock. All right. And then the originality report options. This will be where you set it to whether you want now remember, Turnitin is a plagiarism detection software. So you are going to set right after whether you want the platform to detect, for the similarity index, to detect whether the student has plagiarized from different sources, whether it's from different other student papers, other publications, other websites, etc. All right, and then how long will you want this originality report to be generated, whether it's immediately or a while after. All right. And so this is what I was just referring to, where you can set what normally I set it to yes, yes, yes. All at the bottom here, it's usually 5 yeses if I remember correctly. All right. Allow submissions after the due date. Of course, we just explained that. So you want to make sure that is set to yes, to cater to the differently abled. All right. This part here is also very important. You want to ensure that you click no repository, and I think by default it's set to that. No repository. Now the reason you're doing that is to ensure that students are not placed in a situation when they resubmit. Let's say, for example, well, let me explain first. You don't want students to be placed in a situation where it seems as if they plagiarize themselves. So let's say I'm a student in Trevor's course, right? And Trevor, I submitted, your assignment is from Monday to Friday. I submitted my assignment initially on a Monday because I thought it was easy and I could, look it up. And then I realized upon review that I left certain things, or the similarity index is high, and I want to make adjustments or corrections. And then when I resubmit, right, back into Turnitin, it's not going to read as if I'm, hello? Oh, yeah, it's going to read as if I'm plagiarizing myself. It'll read as a separate document, all right? Once you click no repository. Right, why not allow one submission? Because let's say, for example, Trevor, if I were, right, and I think you and Indira are asking the same question. Let's say if I were trying to submit an assignment and I unknowingly plagiarize, because that's the case most of the time. Students may not be aware of a particular thing they got, that they used, and it's showing as them plagiarizing. And remember, plagiarism is really just failure to account for the content that you've used. So if I use a particular phrase that I thought was just common knowledge or I heard somewhere, let's say I use your lecture notes, I may not be aware that it's plagiarized. You know what I mean? So I don't think you want to do these students a disservice. Remember, you want to be fair student, and that's what, according to BUS's guidelines, that you want to be fair to the students. So if it is I realize that I unknowingly plagiarize something, then me submitting with the option to submit once doesn't give me the opportunity to correct that. Now, if after the opportunity to submit a couple times and I still submitted the plagiarized content, then that's a different story. Then you could take the necessary action. Yeah? Does that clarify for you? Okay, great. Indira, you're okay?
Yes, one thing then that occurred to me, that with all the nuances of the setup that we have to pay attention to, if we set it up and we have it hidden, but you all at CETL can see it, not so?
Yes.
Right. So is it possible for you to do a quick vetting just to make sure this is
sure?
Right.
Once you send us an email, just to review it, and we will be happy to do that between Diane and myself. Right. Between Diane and I, and we could give you some feedback.
Look at Justin or 3,000.
Yeah, because as Christine said, you never know what you could not quite get right, and you're putting the student, unfortunately, at a disadvantage, which you only discover once the thing is in progress. And once it's in progress, you can't really easily go in and change.
No, the thing is, let me just backtrack a little bit. I'm volunteering to review 1,000 courses. What I'm saying is that if you need any sort of assistance and you're not sure of something, you could shoot us an email. And yeah, sorry, I was just reading what Diane said. And let me also notify you that you don't want to put, like, if you create an assignment at the last minute and then you need an urgent response, that is a problem. That is a problem because you may not get a response right away. But what I recommend, I think we should be that last, I shouldn't say last, but that once you've exhausted, you follow the instructions and you reviewed what you did, then you could pass it on if you're still insecure to or unsure, do that. Right?
The insecurity is more because of us having to do this for this final assessment on a much larger scale, because we've done it for coursework, some of us. So I can predict, okay, pay attention to this, that, but this is something quite different.
Yeah, the stakes are higher, in other words.
Much higher, because in my case it's 50%, in some others it might be even more.
And in your course is over 600 students.
Yes.
So I totally understand that. But feel free to either let a colleague, if you have someone around to also help you with that regard, in terms of you want to ensure that it's hidden. That's the main thing. Once you hide your stuff before, then you're good to go. But keep in mind that you will need to go back and unhide it when the time is next. You will manually have to go back and unhide it. All right. So yes, in dire circumstances.
To interject too, Justin, remember the exams people are also going to be looking at and the so there's that layer as well. We're not quite sure how it's going to happen yet, but there's a layer of exam section doing that. So,
We have a lot of vetting taking place. All right. Danny, I think you have your hand up.
Yes, Justin, thanks. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I think it's on the previous slide with respect to selecting some options for Turnitin. There were two options, generate the report immediately or wait a bit, and I was wondering what the dynamics with those two options.
Right. I would recommend generate the report immediately, because that way, the student will be able to see exactly what the similarity index or the originality report is before clicking submit. So let's say, again, to use the same example, if I'm submitting in Trevor's course, then if the Turnitin report is generated immediately, I could see that, listen, Justin, you forgot to account for something, for this, that, and the other that you use in this particular project. And then I could make the necessary changes when necessary. Trevor said immediately. Right? But before I submit to Trevor, I could, with the Turnitin report being generated immediately, I could make the corrections and then submit. And then Trevor will definitely give me an immediate pass, right? Instead of an immediate fail. All right? So keep that in mind.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all, Danny. All right, so once you finish, click everything. You click save and return to course, and your Turnitin assignment will be here. Now notice the difference between the Turnitin assignment and the normal myeLearning assessment. Can you just go over the post date? Okay. Patrice, is that in the Turnitin assignment or the regular assignment? Patrice? Yes, Turnitin. Okay. So what I was saying with the post date, right, refers to the responses to your assigned posts and so on. Now, the post date, in this case, you could kind of, by default, I think it's normally set to the same time as the due date, I think, if by default, I can't remember, right? So you want to make sure your emphasis, I was saying that the emphasis should really be placed on the start date and the due date. All right? Make sure it's set accordingly. The due date, the post date, sorry, I think it's normally by default set to the due date, but it should never be placed before the start. All right? And I was saying earlier that you may not necessarily need the post date as much because remember, you're not going to be given, like, this part is like for grades and that kind of thing, which you're not going to be giving in this context. All right? Right. So I was saying that the emphasis should be placed on start date and due date. All right. So once you click save and return to course, you're going to see the final assignment here. Notice the difference in the icons. So you could tell this is the normal myeLearning assignment for, different types of media. Trying to type. And this is the Turnitin assignment. All right. And you could use the same naming convention called final assignment. That works as well. All right. So the student knows exactly in advance what the assignment looks like. Now, when you click on your Turnitin assignment, it's going to look something like this. All right. It could look a little busy. All right. It could look a little busy. I'll admit that. But just so you know. All right. And of course, you have the parameters or the details that you set with the start date, the due date, the post date, and so on. And if you want to export, the file, the student submissions, and so on. These two tabs here, Turnitin tutors and Turnitin students, these are not enabled in our context. So if you click on them, you're probably going to see anything. Your main thing is really submission inbox, right? Because really and that's really where your emphasis or attention should be placed, because you want to ensure that students actually submitted and that you can grade those submissions separately. All right? Right. That's a good question, Trevor, because I don't think you're going to be giving much feedback to students in this regard, because remember, it's a final a final. Well, I want to use the word exam loosely, right? So it's like how we would normally do a final exam where you don't really get feedback, but of course with a twist because it's via Turnitin on this platform, right? And yes, thank you, Diane. The submission part will appear at the bottom.
Yeah. And just to let people know that, and that's another fuzzy area with exams with regard to the feedback and so on. Because of the nature of the exams, you should really have feedback if it's alternative assessments or authentic assessments. But because it's a final exam, they don't want you putting grades and so in myeLearning so that students will feel that that is their final grade. They're
All right.
asking that you make sure that your grades will go in banner as usual. If by some chance you want to put things in myeLearning, you have to be sure that the students know that that is not the final grade, because you don't want people suing you after saying, I see that in myeLearning and I thought this was my grade, and then when I go in banner I see something else.
In fact,
So we have to add that to the list of 20 questions from Indira.
and look, Indira said exactly.
You see? Okay. So Indira, that's another one to your 20 questions if you didn't ask
Yes.
it all.
No,
Keep in
no,
mind
it was on my list of probably
See?
getting on
Okay.
21. Yes.
Indira thinks of everything.
No,
But keep
well,
in
I
mind,
have to, because as I say, with
yeah,
a class that size, I guarantee I will get something odd.
keep in mind too, guys, that there's a university regulation. It's against the university regulation to place final grades and so on myeLearning. All right, keep that in mind. So as we wrap up, these are some of the video links that that would be useful to you. To recap
So
what we.
let me
Mhm.
put the links. Go ahead,
In the
sorry.
chat,
I'll put the
right?
links in the chat too so
Yeah.
people could just copy paste it.
All right.
And because sorry,
Go ahead.
because people ask so much about so people could just copy and paste these links, although you're gonna get you could wait and you get the PowerPoint after. Because people had asked about adding the file to the Turnitin
Hmm.
submission thing, I did put it in the file sheet, so I don't know if you want to share it quickly just so that they will see. If people want to see it. But
Yeah.
that is also here.
All
Let's
right.
put it.
Yes, I'm seeing it. So,
Yeah. And there's
um,
a video. Sorry, there's a video. The link is there. And this
yeah,
document could be made available to people if they want it.
right. And it's also on the resource website. There's a new tab on assessments that may be of use to you as well. So you get all the Turnitin documentation there as well as this. All right. So yes, let me just walk you through very quickly. So remember I said earlier, let's say for example, just to recap, you put your turn editing on, add an activity or resource, you click Turnitin, and then it takes you to this page. You insert a title, let's say final assignment, all right? You give the instructions. It could be basic instructions. Please click here for further instructions, or please click here for the case study. You highlight the text that you want to hyperlink, all right? Then you're gonna click the first icon that's up here, all right? This first icon here, and then the third icon in the third row. So you'll notice when you click on this first icon, this entire menu is gonna expand to have 4 rows, right? When that happens, you click on the third icon in the third row, right? So again, first icon in the first row, third icon in the third row. Easy to remember, right? And then, of course, that is going to take you to, let me go to the next part. That is going to take you to this page, this little pop-up window, I should say. The first thing you want to do, and when this pops up, is click Open in a new window. And that way, the document that you're hyperlinking to would not replace the assignment page that students see, right? They wouldn't have to go back and forth. So you click open in a new window, then click browse repositories. Browse repositories. When you click browse repositories, this is it, right? So remember this page, this interface I was just showing you earlier, right? You go and you browse and you locate your file, and then once you locate your file, you click add, or sorry, upload to this upload this file. All right, and this document, I think we're sending this to them too, not so Diane. So you're gonna see the video that appears, the walkthrough, the tutorial video that goes with it. But yeah, once you click that, then you go on to the rest of your Turnitin settings. All right. What I recommend too is that hyperlink, so the text will be hyperlinked. Let's say in this case, a previous page. So the text is going to be hyperlinked, for example, here, right? What I recommend you do is highlight that text again and change the color, or well, adjust the color to suit. And the reason I'm saying that is because when the student sees it, it's not going to appear off the bat as a hyperlink unless the student hovers over it, right? So what you want to do is make sure it stands out in the sea of black text that is Turnitin. You're going to highlight this, let's say for example, this special word here, and then you're going to click on the paint button that's on the top row. Yes, Trevor?
Justin, is there any advantage in doing it this way as opposed to just dragging the assignment into the dragging the document that explains the assignment into the document, that way the students will have one more computation in terms of what they have to do?
Right. But the thing is, with Turnitin, you may not be able to drag the documents. That's why we're suggesting this way. The previous document, the normal myeLearning assignment would allow you to drag the document in or whatnot. This one doesn't allow you to do that. Even if you try to manage files, it wouldn't show, it would not attach the file accordingly. All right, but don't worry, it's a very simple process. And I guess when you see the video, it doesn't even take a minute to do this. All right. So I was saying that you just want, at the end of it, you want to make sure you highlight the text that you want to that you hyperlinked, and just change the color a little bit so the student knows that it's a hyperlink and it stands out when they go into Turnitin. Right? And the only reason you're doing that is because you want the student to actually see that it is a hyperlink. Yes, Randy?
Right, quick question, Justin. So if we just wanted to practice that and let's say set up a fake test just to try it out,
right.
Is there a way that we could remove that hyperlink after we've done that?
Yes, yes. You could just remove delete the word. You go back inside here and you just remove the word and type it over as usual.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much.
Right. Yes, no problem. That's a good question, by the way. Any other questions on that?
I guess not.
So
I'm just gonna post in the chat. I hope everybody has access to the chat now. Are you all seeing the chat? Can you all go into the chat? Everybody knows how to go into the chat. You all see the list of resources there?
Yes, yes. Yeah, yes, it's there.
Great. And I just posted the evaluation link.
You can choose.
Are you all seeing it?
Don't forget to set your scale.
I'll post it again.
Yeah.
And this column will be considered.
That's the evaluation link. If you all could just complete that for us.
Okay. Indira, you have a question?
When you said you had questions, I thought it was about that process of linking. And I raised these questions on the basis of what I've encountered in doing my and using these approaches. With Turnitin, sometimes for some inexplicable reason, and I have actually sent it to Campus IT for an explanation, the student does not submit the document, let us say their answers or their assignment, but what you see box where you see where their submission resides is the Turnitin symbol.
Restrict access.
So when you click, you get nothing. And I don't know how they do it. I tried doing it as if I was a student to see if I could make the error, and I I couldn't understand it. Happened more than once when they have been submitting a summary of their seminar presentation through Turnitin for vetting. So I'm not sure if you've encountered that. That's the first thing. The second thing is.
So is it just, let me see if I understand, that you're saying that when the students are,
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
When the students are,
mic is on. Somebody's mic is
on. Yeah, when the student submits his or her file, you are not seeing it in Turnitin, is that it?
Well, they're submitting it through Turnitin, and what's there logged in the submission box is not a file, but the Turnitin symbol. You know the little Turnitin symbol that?
Yeah.
I cannot understand what they have done, and as Campus IT could not provide me with a clear explanation because I sent a screenshot and everything.
Right.
And I'm a bit concerned because having it happen, and I'm talking about nervous students and large classes. I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one, but anyway. So if I can get a screenshot of it, I'll send it to you.
With that, but you could definitely shoot us an email, and we'll take a look at it as well and see how best.
But I raised it because it has happened with me. Now, this leads me to another point. What I've therefore done is I can delete it, remove the submission, and I ask the student, well, send me a presentation and I can upload the presentation on their behalf. So since I can do that, and I can do that even after the due date, I am not likely to students' responses, but I do have to use, and I'm not saying that my assistant examiners are in any way dishonest at all. Please don't misunderstand that. But things can happen. So that using the Turnitin, that would also, it would be an added precaution that I would have to be aware of.
In terms of, you said presentations, is it that like what is a PowerPoint thing with diagrams and so on? Or?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so
they got diagrams up here.
Right. I don't know if that might be the cause of it, but it's something we could look into.
Okay,
right?
yes, right. So that's what I said.
Keep in mind,
experience of an essay type response that you're vetting for the seminar.
Remember, Turnitin would only be for like essays. So if it's something that has diagrams and so on, then you're going to get it acting a little.
It's a PDF though, but anyway, point taken, right.
Yeah, even if it's a PDF, it's like diagrams and stuff like that, you're going to get some kind of weird, behavior.
Things happen. Right, so
what I wanted to, what I wanted to say though is, since Indira raised this, is the lecturers will have to ensure that you give your students as many instructions as you can regarding what to do. Not just instructions about your exam, but instructions about the process and what to expect. Because the students themselves, some of them not used to it, and they don't know. Some of them may not have been using the Turnitin tool. They might have had myeLearning courses before, but just using the assignment or just downloading stuff. So to make sure that you all, and that's one of the things why I went through this thing with uploading documents for those people who didn't know about uploading documents. Please give your students as many instructions as necessary to allow them to be able to do what they have to do. The partially sighted leading the blind, okay, Trevor. But they need to get clear instructions as well. So what I would suggest is people try to do it as simply as possible. Go for the path of least resistance, and do, as somebody mentioned, who's talking just now about a test. I think everybody should do a dry run with whatever it is they want to do, and have your colleagues or somebody else check it for you. So try to do a dry run.
And once you do that dry run, in myeLearning, it's very easy to duplicate the assignment. So if you know that when you duplicate that assignment, all you have to do is just tweak the dates and whatnot, but the settings will stay the same. So you wouldn't have to fiddle with that anymore.
And if you're comfortable, do the dry run with a fake assessment if you're afraid. So just
give them a practice.
Yes, and let them do it so that they know what they're doing. So it
Right.
will be the half blind leading the blind before.
Right. Yeah. All right. My second point is when you make a submission to Turnitin, you can, in the settings, generate a receipt. So the student gets a receipt saying
Yeah.
that submission has been made, right? Now, because that's on my list of 20 questions, how is the receipt aspect of the students having made their submission going to work? Is it that we're going to rely, if we use the Turnitin option, entirely on that Turnitin receipt or something else?
In terms of using the receipt for what, to verify that they submitted?
Yes, yeah. When you use Turnitin, you can set it and it generates a receipt.
Yeah. I think, well, you may not
You'll see
necessarily
the submissions anyway.
Yeah, because the submission would be there. So you may not need the receipt per se. The receipt would be something like, let's say, I know grad studies would need to see the receipt and all that stuff.
Okay, Justin. However, I can assure you, I have had cases. Miss, I submitted, assure I submitted. And when I look, there is nothing but a blank space in the box.
Right, right.
But then I could say,
Something
do
he
you have
says.
your receipt? And then they can't produce the receipt. So then, you know.
Yeah. Indira Trevor is saying that exam said they will deal with the receipts issue.
Yeah.
Right.
And keep in mind too, Indira, that, I mean, you could always see the myeLearning logs to see exactly where they click.
Yes, I know. Believe
Yes.
me.
I know you know that.
Sherlock
So
Holmes
yeah,
has
that's a way
nothing
of
on me.
yeah. So that's a way of verifying even on you know.
Yes. And it actually does say that a submission has been made. And
Right. Yeah. So just saying in lieu of this receipt thing, you know, until they get clarity with that, you also have a plan B, but just checking the logs and so on of the student.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right.
So
Let me just.
that's the end of my 20 questions, right?
No problem at all. And I'm sure everyone was able to learn from it. And you brought up some valid concerns, you, Trevor, and Randy, and a couple others. So any more questions by chance, or any concerns, any questions? Yes, Trevor?
Justin, again, I noticed that because some of us have moved our courses from examinations to 100% coursework, that's why I'm asking the question about the feedback, because one of the things that we are asked to do, especially if we're going online and we are going to be going to our accreditors, is to do that feedback. So that I was just wondering how we could put the markings or the comments and put it back up on myeLearning.
Right. I think the feedback option, especially because I think we did some stuff with you guys, in particular, that would pertain more specifically to like coursework, to in-course work, right?
Well, remember, some of us have
Yeah, so what he's saying is, in their case, it's 100% coursework. Trevor, let's get back to you on that with a definite answer. Because I would prefer to check with exams before we give you a definite answer.
All right, thanks.
So we'll get back to you.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions, guys? All right. But if you need,
people in the session.
Yeah. But I know, like, after you sleep on it and you think of different things and so on, your questions may arise, or even when you start to implement it. But if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email. Send an email to CETL_BL@sta.uwi.edu. All right. That's CETL_BL@sta.uwi.edu. Right, and either one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. And Diane just placed it in the chat, so you would see it there as well. All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing great things. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.